Welcome gamers to this Legend of Zelda Link to the Past randomizer match between Dafritza and Swagalicious. My name is DDR Kirby and I'll be your host for this race today. This is going to be game one of a best of three series as part of the quarterfinals of the Gold Sword bracket. Of course, the Gold Sword bracket of the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament 2024 consists of the 16 top runners who made it out of the Swiss rounds. I believe, let's see, Swagalicious making an upset over the number 3 seed Mormasil to get here, and Dafritza also making an upset over the number 6 seed in the Gold Sword bracket Kip in order to get here. So both of these runners having taken down a higher seeded opponent. And I believe our game mode today will be Open 7-7, so we are not going to have to start with the castle escape sequence. Our runners are going to be able to have their choice whether to start at Link's house or Sanctuary. Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages to any opening route, so we'll see whether these two runners choose to do the same thing or different things. It looks like we are about ready to get started. And good luck to both of these runners. Let's get this all synced up. Alright, looks pretty good. Alright, and already we got some divergence. So we got Dafritza starting at Sanctuary and Swagalicious getting a bottle from Link's house. So that is going to allow them to check Sick Kid once they get over to Kakariko, which I assume is going to be an early priority. You can see Swagalicious already going ahead and lifting that sign there. This is a very common strategy for opening up the game. Tossing it at that blue guard. Actually, the guards happen to be in the bomb pack today, so that is definitely nice. Dafritza gonna take a different sign here, and also gets the bomb drop, so each enemy is actually 50% to drop an item. And both of these runners are winning that 50% roll on the first guard that they kill. So Swagalicious is going to check these two items here in Hyrule Castle Secret Passage, and probably going to save and quit out of that, as we can't really do the front escape without any weapons. Meanwhile, Dafritza is going to find the Power Glove in Lost Woods. Swagalicious is probably going to follow suit. We get our map check. I believe we saw all 3 Light World dungeons as crystals, and it looks like Eastern Palace is a red crystal. So more bombs in the Lost Woods drop-down, which is nice because that'll guarantee that our runners have enough bombs for now for the early Kakariko checks. We did see Dafritza elect to skip out on checking the item at Lumberjack Cave. I will say skipping that check does seem to be a little bit more common in open modes, but Swagalicious looks like they are going to go ahead and give us this check, so going to take a little bit more time, but and the Bush Crab with an 8-bomb pack. So Swagalicious definitely going to be having all the bombs that they need for the time being. I wonder if that could actually be relevant. Alright, so it looks like just a red rupee on Lumberjack Cave, so defeating Aghanim for that, not necessarily going to be required, but of course we could see a required Aga Seed in terms of getting our Dark World access. Looks like we got the Fire Rod here in Kakariko as well as a sword, so definitely going to be able to use both of those as well as the glove to clear out all of the remaining items in Hyrule Castle Escape. Dafritza does have 6 bombs remaining, which should be good enough for them for now. I don't think they'll have to buy any more. And yeah, Swagalicious choosing to save a couple seconds by not picking up those 3 bombs. They already have 9, so it would only be an extra 1 in their inventory. Oh, and Dafritza getting pretty unlucky with that bomb throw. Has to use up another bomb. Hopefully that won't actually cost them. Okay, we got the blue boomerang. That'll allow our runners to check the stun prize at some point if they so desire. But as far as where we go from here, I imagine a first priority is going to be back escape. You just use your glove to lift the boulder and then fall down through the kind of tombstone push. And there's 3 chests right there that you can get to immediately. And we also know that Sanctuary had the small key for Hyrule Castle Escape. So that is actually going to let our runners get to Dark Cross from the back. Now, normally you'd have to do that in the dark, but our runners both have access to the Fire Rod, or they both will have access to the Fire Rod. And so they will be able to light those torches in Castle Escape in order to light their way. Swagalicious' tracker shows that they have the Ice Rod, but I'm pretty sure that is probably just a mistake. I can't see why, yeah, they would have the Ice Rod and not the Fire Rod, so I'm assuming that's just a misclick here. Finishing off our Kakariko checks with Library Ledge, which is just 10 rupees, so, or 10 arrows, so not going to be able to not going to need to come back for that. And if it's going to peek at the item on Race Game, usually this is nothing, but sometimes you do have to go get it, and it's just a piece of heart, so we don't have to worry about that. Alright, so where is Defritza going to go? Looks like they are starting in Sanctuary, and this to me says that they are going to go ahead and make the play to check the back of Escape. Now, one unfortunate thing here, Defritza not having done those checks in Hyrule Castle's Secret Passage, they also did not pick up the small magic there, of course, which means that they don't actually have any magic to use their Fire Rod. So I wonder if they are going to have to just do these 3 checks here and not worry about Dark Cross until later, maybe potentially getting to Dark Cross from the front of Escape. Looks like we do see our map there, so that does mean that Dark Cross is a guaranteed item, and the shovel, in the meantime, is found by Swagalicious on Sick Kid, so that is a check that Defritza is not going to be able to do for quite some time. I imagine Swagalicious is going to go ahead and check that Shovel Dig spot immediately after scouting Race Game. That is a common play here. So that's something important. Defritza will probably be leaving that behind for quite some time. Ooh, interesting. Defritza walking past the dam here and going straight to Agina, it looks like. This is something I haven't seen before. Usually, people will check the 2 checks in the dam on the way to this check, because it's sort of kind of right by on the way to Agina. But they might be planning on checking Agina first, and then doing a save and quit, and then doing Dam, Mini Moldrum Cave, and routing eastward from there. So a little bit of a different routing than I'm used to seeing here. Swagalicious, meanwhile, going to give us this Shovel Dig spot. Is it going to be something relevant? It is the Titansmiths, that's definitely relevant. Interesting. Okay, so Defritza probably not going to be able to get that for quite some time. It's not a huge deal right now, of course, as the Titansmiths by themselves don't open anything. But once you get our Moon Pearl, Swagalicious is just going to already have access to the Dark World by going to the Kakariko portal, and Defritza is not going to have that. So hopefully Defritza ends up getting funneled into, checking Sick Kid and following up on that shovel. Otherwise, they could end up, checking a bunch of stuff, other locations, and wasting some time. There's the Moon Pearl in Dam. So interesting, really interesting, because Defritza could have definitely picked that up on the way to Agina, but they don't have that right now. Okay, Defritza gonna go ahead and pick up those 2 small magics. They, of course, might need that to get to Dark Cross. We know that there is guaranteed to be an item on Dark Cross because we've already seen the small key and the map. Looks like we already have seen both armor upgrades. We see one there at the Sunken Treasure check outside of the dam, and then I believe we saw the other one on Desert Palace Ledge. So we already know where both of our armor upgrades are. Okay, looks like Defritza is going to go ahead and do the front of Escape. If they want to, they can try and set up a Death Warp from Zelda's Cell to go check Dark Cross as well. And Swagalicious gonna finish out these South Shore checks with Mini Moldrum Cave. Alright, so far no progression here. Just some health, and there's the Ice Rod. Alright, so maybe Swagalicious making a little bit of a premonition earlier with that misclick on the Fire Rod and Ice Rod, but now has both rods on hand. Is going to make their way to Ice Rod Cave over here. Definitely something that is out of the way, but you kind of want to do it here while you're at Mini Moldome Cave, because if you have to save and quit and walk there from Link's house, it is quite a bit slower. I think it's over 20 seconds slower-ish the last time I checked. So they do have the option here of doing a fake flipper from this area of the overworld to get to the kind of Zora area, or Hobo if they want to. It's not going to be super lucrative for them, as they don't have the money to check Zora, but we'll see if they decide to do that. The Fritza looks like they're trying to stun this green guard, having a little bit of trouble, but okay, it does get it there. I imagine they're going to want to use that green guard to set up their Death Warp, if that's their plan. They need to be a little bit careful with this ball and chain guard, but it takes it down just fine. And Swagalicious looks like they're just going to go ahead and dive straight to the Dark World. Right, Defritza giving us that Death Warp, so they are going to check Dark Cross. So Swagalicious diving straight to the Dark World, they're not even going to bother, doing these checks that Defritza is in the front of Hyrule Castle Escape. Our progression does point to the Dark World, so this definitely makes sense. It is definitely a dangerous spot to be with just, 3 or 4 hearts, but at least Swagalicious does have that blue mail, which will make things a little bit safer. We don't have a map check yet on Swagalicious' side, so we don't actually know whether Skullwoods is a pendant or crystal, but as soon as they step into the dungeon, we will actually be able to figure that out. One feature that got added to the randomizer is there is a kind of little accessibility feature. So on the upper left corner of the screen, you can see that little C letter that does tell us that Skullwoods is a crystal dungeon, so it is going to be required today. Looks like there was nothing at Dark Cross, at least according to Defritza's tracker, so pretty much nothing out of front of Escape. So Swagalicious not really being punished for skipping that and going to the Dark World early. Oh, unfortunately it does get grabbed by that Wallmaster though. They're going to have to do this whole room again. Hopefully they manage it alright. They've only got 1 heart. Dying here is not the worst thing in the world, as you get to just, try again, but it does cost you time. I wonder if they might actually just elect to get this chest and then intentionally take a death. That might be faster here. Right, there's their key, and yeah, just as I thought, they're just going to intentionally take a death so they don't have to bother with pushing that statue on the way out. In the meantime, Defritza does pick up their Moon Pearl, but of course, as we noted earlier, they do not have the shovel to get their Titan's Mitts. So it's kind of hard to justify going all the way to Kakariko for that single check as well, so I imagine Defritza is probably going to look elsewhere, probably maybe at the Eastern Palace area, or potentially even going up the mountain, as that is in logic. Looks like, actually it looks like they got a lamp somewhere. I'm going to assume that was either at Dark Cross or the front of Escape. So that's definitely a nice pickup. Meanwhile, Swagalicious find themselves in the back of Skullwoods. I wonder if they're gonna try and take down Mothula here. Be a very bold play. It's certainly, something that you want to do at this point, as, you're already here and Mothula is required. But, you are only on 4 hearts and blue mail, so I wonder how feasible of a fight that is. Looks like they are going to go ahead and try their shot at it. Try taking a shot at it. I don't think they have a useful potion either. I believe the only bottle that we got was from Link's house, and I think that was just a bee. We did see Defritza use that bee to good effect in Mini Moldome Cave to take out the Mini Moldomes just a little bit easier. Yeah, so Swagalicious gonna have to, farm all of these resources. They don't even have the lamp, so they're gonna have to just use the Fire Rod for this room, and that's already not... Okay, they have just enough magic for this, so no magic is gonna be remaining for this Mothula fight. This is very aggressive. I mean, I've certainly seen people take down Mothula with a fighter sword on low health, but I would not feel confident about this. But the full magic drop from the mini Helmsword Beetle. Okay. I like Swagalicious' chances a lot more now. So going into Moth with the full magic bar, let's see how they do with this fight. Okay, starting off the spin, narrowly avoids getting hit there, but very nice spacing. You know, people have different approaches to this fight with Fighter Sword. Some people like to do spins, they do double damage, but other people do not appreciate the fact that charging your sword does reduce your mobility. So Swagalicious is opting to stay on the left side of the arena here. Some very nice Fire Rod shots, but this fight is not quite over yet. This is really tense. And they get it! Okay, that was impressive. Only gets a bomb, but of course, you know, that is the first crystal down of the game at 1423. You've got to be feeling good about that one if you're Swagalicious. Alright, Dafritza now following up on that Lumberjack Cave check that they skipped earlier, and this tells me that they are planning on heading up the mountain. Definitely not a bad idea. You can rescue the old man, which is in logic with that lamp that they got out of Hyrule Castle. And even if there's nothing there, you at least, you know, get your save point on the mountain. I'm still impressed with that Fighter Sword Moth fight. Man, that was something else. I really don't think it would have happened if not for that full magic refill that mini Helmsword dropped. So I don't know if that was like prize pack knowledge or just pure luck. It looks like Swagalicious is going to look for the second item in Skullwoods, and it's just a red rupee, so unfortunately no progression being yielded here, but definitely being efficient in terms of the routing. Okay, Dafritza is going to pick up 300 rupees from the old man, a very nice reward for rescuing them. It does look like from Dafritza's tracker that they elected to save and quit. Ooh, takes an unfortunate death there, but that's not too bad. It does look like Dafritza elected to skip out on Ice Rod Cave. I don't believe there was anything there, so they are going to be able to save a bit of time there. As we talked about earlier, that is quite an out-of-the-way check. So they are up some time on that on having skipped that check. Yeah, I do think they're still probably gonna get. They're probably still gonna chase down, you know, the remaining checks in the light world elsewhere before getting to Sick Kid, which is pretty unfortunate, actually. It's not often that you see, you know, the difference between Sanctuary start and Link's House start be so major, but in this particular siege, it actually was quite a big factor here. Alright, so Swagalicious checking these chests in the Village of Outcasts, and yeah, this is kind of what I expected from Dafritza. Going over to... Oh, okay, I thought they were actually heading to Sahashala, but it looks like they're going to scout the item on Lake Hylia first. And it's just a heart container. So yeah, gonna go ahead and go over to Eastern Palace area, and if there's nothing in Saha's closet, I imagine they might go ahead and dip into Eastern Palace here without a bow. It looks like they're actually going to go straight there. Oh, that's right. They already checked Saha's closet. That's correct. So they are just going to go and head and dip into Eastern Palace here. And now, of course, they are missing the bow, so they won't be able to complete this dungeon. Unless the bow just happens to be hiding out here. One good thing is that since they have that lamp on hand, all of the checks in this dungeon, besides Armos Knights, are going to be in logic. So there is an opportunity for them to pull something out of this. It'd actually be really crazy if they ended up finding the hammer here, as that would allow them to get to the Dark World, but through an alternate means, still not having those Titan limits, which, as we know, are at the Shovel Dig spot. And, okay, I guess I just spoke that into existence, because there's the hammer. Looks like they're gonna decide to just leave. That's good enough for them. They're gonna leave the other two items behind in Eastern Palace, and they're just gonna go to this Dark World portal below Link's house and head straight to Hype Cave. Okay, so this is actually kind of, in an odd way, kind of the best outcome that you can ask for as DeFritza. Having avoided, you know, going on a wild goose chase for those Titan's mitts. Okay, we have our Dark World map check, and it looks like Palace of Darkness, Ice Palace, and Misery Mire are our penance today. Of course, those penance not being required to complete the game necessarily, so that's only if progression is locked in those dungeons or behind those pendants. Okay, Swaglicious is continuing on their clear of Thieves Town. Of course, one risk of being in this dungeon is that the big chest is not accessible without the hammer. But that is a risk that is often taken by runners. Oftentimes the big chest is just a map or a compass anyways. Oftentimes it will have something that's irrelevant, but you never know. Sometimes it can definitely end up being a brutal last location. Looks like DeFritza did pick up the Quake Medallion in Hype Cave. And he's going to go ahead and go left and give us the Stumpy and Dig Game checks. Unfortunately, they don't have the mirror here, so if only they did, they would be able to mirror and then check Sick Kid and get the shovel and everything, but I guess they're probably going to get that shovel after this. I imagine the next play is going to be to start at Sanctuary and head over to the Kakariko portal. So hopefully they remember to make a short stop at Sick Kid to pick up that shovel. Swaglicious just making good use of that blue boomerang. Looks like our stun prize for this seed is just green rupees, so not really particularly useful. And I have not been keeping track of the item count in Thieves Town here, unfortunately. Yeah, I'll have to see if Swaglicious opens their menu. They do have the small key here, so it is possible for them to go left, but of course they don't have the hammer to open that chest. I'm not sure if they have both the map and compass already. Looks like DeFritza found a Master Sword on Digging Game. So if they decide to make a go at Mothula and Skull Woods like Swaglicious did, that fight is going to be significantly easier for them. They have both the Master Sword and Hammer on hand, as well as a red potion. So imagine, even though they've still only got 5 hearts, they might be feeling a little bit more, you know, they might still feel confident about taking that fight down. Right, in the meantime, Swaglicious going to be doing their blind fight. Has to be a little bit careful here. Only needs one more hit and narrowly avoids death there. Good work, Swaglicious, on these low percent boss kills. And DeFritza does remember to stop by Sick Kid for that much needed shovel. I don't think they're gonna check that right now, though. I think that's a little bit out of the way. Or actually, okay, I stand corrected. Oh no, this is them buying another red potion. Great idea if you're planning on taking a moth fight, or just in general since you're going into the Dark World with only 5 hearts anyways. So it looks like they are going to pass up on that shovel check right now. Certainly makes sense. They're going to have to just do it later, probably on another save and quit to Link's house. In the meantime, Swaglicious going to go ahead and play the arrow game here. This is something that you really don't see much often in these game modes, but is a consistent way that you can farm rupees here in the Dark World. Unfortunately, misses a shot there, but I wonder if they are potentially looking for money to go do the Zora check in the future. DeFritza, I wasn't sure if that was intentional. Actually, yeah, that looked intentional. So they actually used the Quake Medallion to get the full magic out of that tree. Normally the way you get that full magic is by bonking that tree with the Pegasus boots, but of course we don't have the Pegasus boots, but you can actually use the Quake Medallion to get that, to kind of shake that magic out of the tree. That's some excellent game knowledge right there by DeFritza. Having that full grip of magic is definitely going to help make this road to Mothla a little bit easier, so I definitely approve of that decision. Looks like Swagalicious is done farming rupees up for now. Gonna go ahead and do Dig Game and grab their Master Sword. And from here, they're going to be able to, continue along to the east. And I imagine their last stop is going to be Hype Cave. The real question is what they decide to do after that. We don't really have a ton of great options. We know that the hammer is hiding out in Eastern Palace, so at some point Swagalicious will need to go over there. But I wonder if they have other plans in mind. It's like they are going to bring along the smiths, so I guess after Hype Cave the plan is to save and quit and then turn in the smith. It's not a bad idea. You're already you're kind of in this area, so you might as well pick up the smith while you have the chance. Of course, no one likes doing smith chain checks without the mirror on hand, but if you don't have the mirror and you don't know where it is, you might as well get started on them early, right? The last thing you want is to last location, your mirror on, or some other key item on purple chest, because you have put off mirrorless smith chain, for the entire seed. Alright, Fritz are gonna go ahead and take a death warp, and I'm assuming they are gonna go ahead and try this Mothula fight. As we said, this is going to be quite a bit easier for them than it was for Swagalicious, as they do have that Master Sword and Hammer, as well as 2 red potions on hand. Certainly still not a walk in the park, but probably feeling a lot more comfy than Swagalicious did. Alright, Swagalicious finishes up with Hype Cave, and is going to go ahead and start at Sanctuary so that they can deliver the Smith to his home. Ooh, unfortunately, Defritza getting robbed of a Fire Rod shot there by the Wallmaster dropping down. I wonder if they're going to also get the full magic drop from the mini Helmasaur. Probably not. Oh, if only they had thrown that pot downward, they might have had a chance at it, but it's alright. They do have 2 red potions, so hopefully they can get this done. Alright, they are going to start the fight with the Spin Slash. Of course, having the Master Sword, that Spin Slash is going to do 25% of Moth's HP in one shot, so already that sword difference making a huge factor here. Okay, still has the ability to take a hit here, but it likes to drink that first potion, yeah. Okay, just 300 rupees at the Smith turn-in. So our NPCs giving generous rewards for rescuing them actually today. And Defritza does collect their first crystal at the 26 minute and 40 second mark. Alright, Swagalicious now gonna go ahead and do their back of escape checks. It's interesting that they decided to put these off for this long, actually. I wonder if they just slipped their mind that they could do this earlier, because there's not a ton of benefit of doing this, after doing Skullwoods and Thieves Town, especially if, there's some extra health or, God forbid, even a sword upgrade in there, but they managed the Moth and Blind fights just fine anyways, so no harm, no foul. Okay, Defritza is going to be finishing up Skullwoods, and I assume they're going to route downward into Thieves Town Village of Outcasts. And Swagalicious, kind of out of great checks, they don't have any full clearable crystals at this point, so they are going to go ahead and get to these checks in the front of Escape that they did skip over earlier. Both of our runners actually elected to save and quit out of the back of Escape. Now, on Defritza's side, they did not have any magic to use their Fire Rod, so I think that is perfectly, kind of a given. for Swagalicious, they actually did have the opportunity, since they did have that small key already from Sanctuary, they did have the opportunity of going to Dark Cross from the back of Escape instead of going and doing this. I'm assuming they're going to do the same Death Warp that Defritza did. And actually going to Dark Cross from the back does save you a few seconds, even compared to mirroring. And if you have to set up that Death Warp, it does cost a little bit of extra time. Just a little bit of a, kind of timing nugget of information that I have for you all, since I know a lot of people know me in the community as the timings guy. Okay, but Defritza is going to go ahead and finish out these Village of Outcast checks, as well as go into Thieves' Town. Swagalicious, after this, so they still haven't rescued the old man, I believe, from the mountain. So I think that is kind of on deck. But at some point, they're going to have to get funneled into Eastern Palace for their hammer. I just wonder if there's anything else they're going to do before that. Without any mirror or hammer or hookshot, the access on Death Mountain is pretty poor. Not going to be able to check, not going to be able to get to Tower of Hera or the right side of the mountain at all. There's some really awkward one-offs that you have available to you. There's, I guess, Catfish, although that's not even in logic at this point for Swagalicious. So I have to imagine they're probably gonna get routed into the Eastern Palace area before too long. And Defritza taking a death there, I wonder if... No, that can't have been intentional, right? Unless they just wanted to reset their health. Yeah, they're gonna go back here. I mean, if you're gonna take a death in Thieves' Town, definitely this is the best place to do it in. Kind of funny, so it looks like the lamp was actually in Dark Cross. Unfortunately, it doesn't activate immediately upon getting it, so you're actually left in the dark. I guess my headcanon for that is that, Link needs to actually, get some oil into the lamp to light it. Okay, but Swagalicious starting at Sanctuary, so I imagine they're going to go ahead and do those 2 checks that are available on the mountain. Defritza has already shown us this, so we know that there's not going to be anything there, but as we said earlier, this is not really a waste of time. You pretty much are going to have to do this at some point. Some nice patience by Defritza on this kind of Hellway room. Unfortunately, the enemy's not really giving him any good opportunities to get by, but does make it through that room without taking too much damage. Nice job. So I think at the end of all this, when all is said is done, so Defritza is going to probably... So Defritza's going to be saving and quitting after finishing Thieves' Town and Village of Outcasts. And I imagine the fastest check for them is going to be that shovel dig spot, so that is going to lead to the mitts for them. That still doesn't really break the seed open for us. We're still missing, either the mirror or the hookshot to really get our juicy mountain access. But I will say, when Defritza gets the mitts and when Swagalicious gets the hammer, we do have a pretty spicy possible play of sequence breaking into a full clearable Ice Palace. Now, Ice Palace is, of course, a green pendant dungeon, so probably not a super high priority, and it would be out of logic since we don't have the flippers to actually get there logically. But just thinking about it, it did pop up in my mind as a possibility. Looks like Swagalicious, unfortunately, is not going to go ahead and go to the Eastern Palace area. Looks like they really want to avoid that double zip into Eastern Palace, and is instead going for the purple chest here. Defritza is going to go ahead and check the item in the big chest. This is something that Swagalicious did not have the ability to get. And looks like it is just the compass. Alright, so Swagalicious, I guess, found the last item on blind. Kind of dodgy bullet there. I wonder if the best odds of progression at this point are actually in Palace of Darkness. Of course, Swagalicious can't logically get there right now, but once they pick up their hammer in the Eastern Palace, that is going to put Pod into logic. And there's not a lot else in play at this point between our two runners, unless I'm missing something. Okay, Defritza showing a very nice blind fight so far, gets the first two phrases without any problems. And just misses that third phase hit, but finishes the fight very confidently. Now, Swagalicious is about to turn in their purple chest for an item. If this is something big, if this is our progression, this is definitely an ugly check to get to, but it's just a piece of heart, so unfortunately all that time invested into, you know, the smith as well as the purple chest not paying off. It does route kind of nicely into Agena here, though, so I do like that aspect of this route. And I assume Defritza is going to save and quit out of this check right here. Hopefully going to go ahead and pick up those Titan's Mitts. So I guess if we take stock of what is still left unchecked, we have Zora in logic. Defritza hasn't checked Ice Rod Cave, but Swagalicious has. So we have Zora, we have Catfish, Pyramid Ledge, and Pod. Swagalicious still not going to the Eastern Palace area. So unfortunately still going to be staying away from their hammer. Looks like they're instead going to do a fake flipper, so they could be potentially checking Hobo, or they could just be going to Waterfall Cave and Zora. Out of those checks, Zora is the only one in logic here. Okay, Defritza now with their mitts, but unfortunately it doesn't really do that much for them at this point without a few additional items. It does open up, of course, hammer pegs. Oh, hammer pegs is something we haven't seen either. That could be interesting because, yeah, Swagalicious, of course, still doesn't have the hammer, so they were not able to check that, but when Defritza commits to doing, you know, starting up Smith Jane, they are going to be able to do that check as well. It looks like Defritza is not going to do that, and instead going to give us, this looks like potentially Pyramid Ledge and or Pod or Catfish. Okay, Hobo just having a heart container. I like Defritza's chances of finding something here because, you know, as we said, Pod kind of has the highest likelihood of having, you know, the densest items, I believe. We do have the lamp, so that puts the backup Pod in logic. That is, of course, assuming that Pod is not bow-locked. You know, if the first test in Palace of Darkness is not a small key, then unfortunately the rest of the dungeon is logically locked by a bow. But the hookshot is on Pyramid Ledge. That is the key here. So that is a ton of checks open on the mountain now. So I imagine Defritza probably is going to want to say no to Pod. Probably going to just check Catfish here and then leave. Okay, looks like just some health in Waterfall Cave. Yeah, but that hookshot has to be the key to everything. Swagalicious still has to go to Eastern Palace for that hammer. I wonder if that is going to be next, hopefully. They're kind of running out of other things to do at this point. I mean, they can continue, you know, breaking logic if they want to. You know, they can do a kern jump to get to Catfish, but at some point you gotta follow up on the few checks that are logically open, I think. Okay, Zora is one of those checks, so let's see if they have it's the Magic Cape. Okay. I believe our runners have already scouted Bumper Cave Ledge, and I don't believe that was anything of note. So I don't think that cape is going to be relevant for now until we get over to Spike Cave. And that Magic Cape actually does put Spike Cave into Logic. Now, Defritza is not going to be able to check that, unfortunately, unless they use their bug net to grab some fairies. Ooh, nice use of the hookshot. A triple hookshot there by Defritza to get that Dead Rock out of the way. It looks like Swagalicious is going to go ahead and make it to Saha's Closet. Hopefully they also make the play to dive into Eastern Palace at this point. And they're not saving and quitting, so I think they are going to be back on. They're going to be on track to find their hammer here. The real question is, after they find their hammer, are they going to leave, or are they going to stay in the dungeon? And Defritza finds the Pegasus boots and Paradox Cave, so yeah, it looks like they are kind of on the right track as far as this seed is concerned. Those boots do unlock a few additional checks, that is both King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks. Ooh, I wonder if Defritza collected that heart drop from the mini Moldorm while it was in the air. And this is a stacked Paradox Cave. We got the boots, the flippers, and the flute? Okay. So Defritza setting up for the Spellum Jump, I don't know if it's going to work properly based on the drop from the mini Moldorm. Maybe I wasn't watching properly. Okay, does get it okay though. Very nice. And there's the hammer for Swagalicious. They are going to stay here though. I do think this makes sense for them. Unfortunately, it is going to take them a bit longer to get to their hookshot at this rate, because of course that is waiting for them on Pyramid Ledge. But I think at this point, if you're Swagalicious, you don't have a lot of... It's kind of just scattered one-off checks here and there, right? Pyramid Ledge, Catfish, not exactly the fastest checks to do. So I think staying the course in Eastern Palace and getting everything you can here does kind of make sense. You know, for Defritza, the calculus was a lot different as their hammer, you know, opened up the Dark World, but as we know, Swagalicious has already checked a lot of stuff in the Dark World. They already had their Dark World access through the Mitts. Okay, looks like Defritza is going to give us a Harapot clip here. Nicely done. And Defritza, I believe, doesn't have the big key on hand. So it's kind of a 50-50 whether the last item will be inside the big chest or on Moldorm. And unfortunately, Swagalicious finding both the map, the compass, and the big key here. So Eastern Palace really holding out on the goods. Is only going to be able to get one item out of here, and it's going to be in the longest possible check, the Vanilla Big Key chest. There is going to be an item left behind on Armos Knights, assuming that this check is not the bow and arrow, of course. Okay, Defritza, I think we saw this in a previous race. They are making use of their hookshot, but unfortunately it takes kind of a similar fall as the other race that I casted of them, I believe. We're going to go ahead and try this fight again. It's going to be 3 slashes to take down Moldorm. And Swagalicious is just finding a piece of heart, so unfortunately that Eastern Palace, staying in Eastern Palace, not really going to pan out. Alright. Defritza just needs one more spin here, and gets it. Very nice. Okay, Swagalicious is entering this portal below Link's house. I have to imagine... I hope they don't just make a beeline to Pod. And I really hope they check Pyramid Ledge first for their hookshot, because that's, you know, going to set them on the right path. With that hookshot, I imagine they just follow suit and do what Defritza's doing right now. So Defritza going to dash back over to the right side of the mountain, and this time they are going to go ahead and take the portal into the Dark World here after taking Spiral Cave, and looks like Swagalicious is going to go ahead and grab their hookshot. So Swagalicious, kind of behind here in terms of the main path that the seed wants you to be on, but has, you know, checked some of these more time-consuming checks, some of them out of logic. So Defritza having skipped the Ice Rod Cave check early on, and Swagalicious having spent the time to, you know, check Hobo as well as Zora and Waterfall Cave. Defritza does have the flippers now that they got out of Paradox Cave, so I wonder if they are going to be circling back for those checks once they are done with everything here on the mountain. And if so, that will give, you know, some time back to Swagalicious, who currently is behind on their mountain checks. Looks like Moldorm did have the last item in Tower Para, so no item in the big chest today. Kind of the best case that you can hope for. And Defritza want to go ahead and open up this Turtle Rock portal, see what the TR medallion is today. If it's Quake, that is B. It is not Quake, it is Bombos. Alright, so we're gonna need Bombos in order to finish the game today. And there's Pegasus Boots for Swagalicious. Defritza electing to check out Hookshot Cave before Super Bunny Cave. I think this makes a lot of sense. As the route out of exiting Super Bunny Cave is a lot longer, so you can save and quit after the 2 Super Bunny checks. You'll save a lot more time. They unfortunately did not. So I'm pretty sure they're not going to be checking Spike Cave here, as they didn't, you know, they didn't elect to use the bug net to catch any fairies. So I don't think that would be possible for them, even if they tried. Swagalicious, on the other hand, they don't have it marked on their tracker, but they do have access to the Magic Cape. I wonder if that is going to come into effect. Okay, if it's gonna save and quit, I imagine they're going to check the boots checks, as well as activate the flute. It's kind of the first order of business here. So we've got King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks to do here before heading over to Kakariko Village to activate the flute. And from there, we've got some different options. So, Ice Palace is fully in logic now, although Cold Stare may or may not be in logic, depending on key placement. We've also got Misery Mire Shed with 2 kind of easy checks that are available. And of course, Defritza still hasn't done any of those flipper checks, so those are looking kind of appealing on his side. Okay, so Swagalicious also going to be doing this Harrot Pot glitch. And just 300 rupees at Bonk Rocks. Let's see, so if I'm Defritza, what do I do here? I guess... You know, I probably would stick to the... oh, unfortunately Swagalicious missing that bumper skip. I feel like I'm inclined to finish out some of these overworld checks, you know, all the flipper checks, as well as potentially Mire Shed. I will say, just based on our item loadout, Ice Palace does look kind of juicy. Unfortunately, we don't have the Cadence of Maria, so it's going to be a much slower dungeon clear than if we did have it. But it is a green pendant, so I wonder if at some point that is going to be the right thing to do. But Defritza first going to do Ice Rod Cave. That's right, they did not check this early game, and so they're going to be able to check it much quicker than Swagalicious did, as they have access to the flute and boots now. Kind of the best case that you can hope for in terms of skipping Ice Rod Cave and then getting really fast access to it later on. Like Swagalicious also going to use Sword Spins on Moldorm here. Unfortunately, gets knocked down. When you're holding your sword out, you do move about 20% slower, so that can make it difficult to outrun Moldorm. Okay, Defritza setting up a Water Lock here, so that is going to allow them to dash over to Hobo quite quickly here. Swagalicious hopefully can take down Moldorm this time. Ooh, barely gets that spin. That was a very quick one. And probably breathed a sigh of relief knowing that there's no more items in Tower Hera. So the only question for Swagalicious here is whether they elect to check Spike Cave after they're done with all the rest of the Dark World Death Mount checks, using that cape that they have access to. I'm not 100% sure what is in their bottles at the moment, but I want to say they should probably have access to a green potion. I know Defritza has one from their cracker, and so I imagine Swagalicious probably also has access to that same one. Okay, Defritza is going to go ahead and finish the rest of these slipper checks, so again, this is something that Swagalicious already did, so going to be able to catch back a little bit, catch back up just a little bit. Okay, and Swagalicious actually taking a different approach here, is going to route through Super Bunny Cave on the way up instead of taking the Turtle Rock portal. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is going to be faster in terms of checking on the chest here. Ooh, very nice hookshot clip. And Defritza is going to get their magic cape. They are also going to go ahead and grab the half magic on Zoraledge. Of course, Swagalicious did not have the flippers when they came here, so they were not able to grab that, so most likely that is something that Swagalicious is not going to have for the remainder of the seed. Interestingly enough, Defritza chooses to dash out of here instead of just saving and quitting. I wonder if this is faster or slower. I haven't actually timed it. I think conventional wisdom says that you should always save and quit from Zora, but I don't remember if it's actually faster. Okay, Swagalicious in Hookshot Cave. Again, we'll see if they decide to make the play to check Spike Cave. Defritza choosing to scout out the items in Misery Mire Shed. Didn't see what the Misery Mire medallion was, but they get the Mirror Shield in here, and a red rupee. So what's next? I have to imagine Ice Palace could really start to be a consideration here. There's not a ton left. I mean, there is Smith's Chain, and that is relatively fast. A lot faster for Defritza than it was for Swagalicious, since, you do have the flute and the mitts. So it does look like that is what they're going to do. They are also going to be able to check hammer pegs, which could be very relevant, as Swagalicious was not able to check that. It looks like Swagalicious is going to go ahead and do Spike Cave. Nice knowledge, slashing that bush, slashing those cardinal bushes to get fairies. Ooh, interesting. Elects to use a red potion instead of consuming their magic. I wonder if this is... That actually might be some nice heads-up thinking, as they might be thinking of going into Ice Palace immediately after this. So, electing to save their magic instead of their red potion. Okay, but they're starting at Sanctuary. That Bombos Medallion is actually going to be required because, remember, that Bombos Medallion was required for entry into Turtle Rock. I wonder if Defritza is actually... They've already cleared out basically everything else on the mountain besides TR and Spike Cave, right? So I wonder if that's going to be an issue later on. Of course, it's not relevant right now because neither of our runners have the King of Samaria, but I have to imagine that somewhere down the line, Defritza is going to be looking for that Bombless Medallion, and Spike Cave is probably not going to be... It's probably going to be one of the last places that they look. It's just isolated by itself on the mountain, right? Yeah, it kind of looked like Defritza was kind of had the better spot in this race, but I'm really worried about that Bombless Medallion now. I kind of like where Swagalicious is at now. Looks like Swagalicious not diving into Ice Palace just yet. I kind of just want to see these runners dive into Ice because, you know, I've had a personal hunch on it, but both of our runners simultaneously giving us hammer pegs checks. Looks like DeFritza is going to check hammer pegs before picking up the Smith, actually. Some very nice hammer dashes on both sides. And it's the Ether Medallion. Alright, so all 3 medallions on hand for Swagalicious. And, where are they headed now? I wonder if this is an attempt to buy some potions? No, they're heading left. This is... what is this? They've already... have they not done Bonk Rocks yet? Oh, okay. I would have thought they would have done it on the way to activating the flute, but okay, this makes perfect sense then. Okay, meanwhile, DeFritza is going to turn in this purple chest. Very nice use of the hookshot there to enable dashing with the purple chest. Normally you cannot dash with the purple chest, but if you do it while you're being hookshotted, while you're being pulled by the hookshot, there is a window of time where you can do that trick. It looks like DeFritza is going to be the first one to make the call, dive into Ice Palace. Ooh, unfortunately, accidentally gets fluted away by the duck. Yeah, I believe you have to mash a little bit faster if you want to make use of that trick. Decides to just avoid it altogether this time. Okay, Swagalicious, gonna go ahead and check Mire Shed. I imagine they're not super interested in diving into Pendant Mire here, even though they assuredly do have the medallion to do so. So we've got, I think it's down to Ice Palace and Palace of Darkness. And between the two, I definitely like Ice Palace better. Not only is it kind of more suspicious given the items we have, but Palace of Darkness could be locked, and of course, Ice Palace is going to give us the green pendant, which we can get on the way, which we can turn in to Saha on the way to Palace of Darkness. But Swagalicious gonna make a big play here and dive into Misery Mire. This is spicy. Misery Mire, of course, a very slow dungeon to complete, and it only has 2 items. But, you know, there is some merit to this as well. That Quake Medallion was the first one that we found. I want to say it was actually Sphere 1, if I remember correctly. And, you know, the earlier you find access into these dungeons, the more likely that, you know, progression is generally hiding out in them. Misery Mire, of course, like I said, a very slow dungeon, pretty inefficient as far as checks go, especially if it's, you know, a lot of people would stay out of Pendant Misery Mire until, you know, near last locating it. So if there's something here, it could definitely take DeFritza a long time until they get to Misery Mire. Okay, DeFritza is going to set up for this Ice Palace bomb jump. Of course, this is going to speed up the dungeon significantly over doing it the vanilla way. Swagalicious has to be a little bit careful, only on 2.5 hearts here, but the front part of Misery Mire usually not that dangerous, so probably not a huge concern. I will say Swagalicious does not have the opportunity to go and defeat Vitreous, even if they want to, because you need the Cane of Samaria in order to do that, so I guess that kind of puts a cap on how much time they can spend in this dungeon. And the bow is here in Misery Mire. That's huge. Okay, I really like where Swagalicious is at with this race now. Not only did they pick up the Bombless Medallion from Spike Cave, but they picked up their bow from Misery Mire. And that, of course, is going to be required to complete Eastern Palace. So all that we're missing right now on Swagalicious' side, yeah, they're done with their item checks in Mire. So that really wasn't that slow, actually. They didn't have to do cutscene chests. That was a big play for Swagalicious, and it really worked out. So all we're missing on Swagalicious' side is the Mirror and the Cane of Samaria, and I believe they'll be in go mode after that, right? They've got all 3 medallions. Yeah, they've got the Bombless Medallion for Turtle Rock. They've already got both rods. So they just need Samaria for Turtle Rock, and they need the Mirror for Swamp Palace. And that'll also give them access to Desert Palace. So just 2 items away from Go Mode for Swagalicious. But Defritza still needs to grab their Bombless Medallion from Spike Cave, which is really what I'm worried about. You know, I'm a little bit worried about that bow, but there could be another bow, you know, hiding out somewhere besides Misery Mire, so I think their chances of finding that are a little bit higher. But the Cane of Samaria is in Ice Palace! Okay. So, Defritza's trip into Ice Palace, super validated. They are going to go ahead and continue on to Cold Stare, it looks like. It looks like, yeah, based on their tracker, all of the items are gone from Ice Palace, so this is just for the green pendant, which, you know, if you're here, you might as well do this. It will get you another item check when you're on your way, you know, over to the Palace of Darkness area. And you've got half magic as well, so this shouldn't be too hard of a fight. Okay, gets that first spin, very nice. And yeah, has plenty of magic to use on Fire Rod shots. Has to be a little bit careful. They only have 4.5 hearts here. Looks like they're going to drink a green potion for some extra ammo. And Swagalicious finds the mirror in Palace of Darkness? Are you kidding me? So they're just gonna... Nope. They're just gonna... Oh, I like this. So they actually said no to the rest of Palace of Darkness, and they just mirrored. They're gonna do Armless Knights right now. This makes a lot of sense. This makes a lot of sense, actually. You have to beat Armless Knights anyways. It's gonna give you your red crystal. And you can always come back to Pod later using the flute, right? You might as well finish off Armless Knights, and if Armless... Of course, we already know Samaria is in Ice Palace, but, you know, as far as Swagalicious is concerned, Samaria could be on Armless Knights, or could be in Swamp Palace, which they, of course, can full clear now. And then, if it's not there, they can still look at Pyramid Fairy after that, so they have... I think they're probably feeling really good about all this. The problem is that none of those checks are going to have the Cane of Samaria that they need. They're going to have to get to Ice Palace. And I wonder if this is actually... Oh man, I wonder if this is actually really bad for Swagalicious, because Ice Palace is a dungeon that you usually try and put off as long as possible because it's a lot faster with the Cane of Samaria. So I wonder if Swagalicious is going to actually continue along this path, check Swamp Palace, check Pyramid Fairy, and then dive back into Palace of Darkness afterward before making it back to Ice Palace. So I really don't know how this is going to turn out. And Defritza, on the other hand, has some problems of their own, as they've got a full clearable Turtle Rock, right? Oh no, wait, no, they don't have the Bombless Medallion, which is actually a blessing in disguise for them at this point, because we know that unless there's another bow in Turtle Rock, you know, we know that the mirror is here in Palace of Darkness, and that's where Defritza's going. So they're going to get their mirror. Unfortunately, they don't have their bow, which is hanging out in Misery Mire. Okay, Swagalicious is having a little bit of trouble with that last Armless, but does get the fight done. Just a red rupee there. This race just got really interesting in the past few minutes. So I imagine both runners actually are going to be headed into Swamp Palace, I have to imagine? That's going to be a full clearable crystal for both, yeah, so I imagine both of them are going to... Oh, okay, so Swagalicious is choosing to do Desert Palace first. Yeah, this makes perfect sense. And I imagine Defritza is going to be doing the same. The question is, are they going to check other things in Palace of Darkness? They are! So this is going to be a little bit of a time sink. This is also out of logic. So because the first chest in Palace of Darkness was not a small key, all of these checks are logically locked by a bow. No, it's not impossible for a bow to be here in Palace of Darkness, because, you know, there are 2 bows placed. We do have progressive bows enabled for this for this rule set. So it is possible, for a bow to be here in pod, but probably pretty unlikely. So Defritza going to be breaking logic here, gonna be using a potion, or they seem to be holding the wall. Okay, gonna be using a potion camera unlock here to bypass the bow requirement. But I imagine what they're hoping for is not really the bow, but instead the Bombless Medallion, because remember, that's still outstanding for them. And as far as they're concerned, there's nothing stopping the Bombless Medallion from being here in pod, right? So I guess both of our runners gonna be searching for their Go Mode items and not finding them for quite some time, actually. I imagine Swagalicious is going to do Desert Palace into Swamp Palace, into Pyramid Fairy, and Defritza probably going to be finishing up these pod checks and then heading over to Swamp Palace after that. Defritza needs... yeah, I don't think you can use the hookshot there, actually. You have to use the Ice Rod or Fire Rod. There you go. Unfortunately, those hardhat beetles are going to be in the way for Defritza, so they're going to have to reset the room. Okay, Swagalicious making their way to Lanmo. You know, yeah, I really like... even though Swagalicious is going to take a while before they... potentially take a while before they get to their, King of Samaria and Ice Palace, I do still think they've got a better chance at, you know, going to the right places, eventually. Whereas Defritza, it's kind of a tougher sell for them. Yeah, just like, with all the options on the table, do you really pick Pendant Misery Mire here? Okay, they do find a sword, in Harmless Hellway. So that is, could definitely be relevant. You know, Master Sword Ganon does take quite a while, so... Alright, Swagalicious, unfortunately, without that half magic, is going to have to resort to using Sword Spins to finish out the rest of this fight. And Defritza coming up on their last few checks of this dungeon, and all they came out with was another sword, which is, of course, not nothing, but probably not worth the time investment that they sank into this, unfortunately. Okay, Swagalicious... looks like they... okay, so they went straight to Lanmo, leaving one item behind in the front section of Desert Palace, so they are going to go ahead and go back and get that. And this looks like Swamp Palace for Defritza. Now, of course, the Swamp Palace, you know, the real question for routing Swamp Palace is whether or not to check the 2 slow chests on left side Swamp. Those are, you know, 2 chests that do take quite a while to check, somewhere around 2 minutes-ish, roughly. So they are often skipped, but it really depends on, you know, the situation that you're in, as well as the remaining checks that you have open to you besides Swamp Palace. So I wonder what both of our runners will choose here. They're both heading into Swamp Palace kind of simultaneously. Now remember, Swagalicious, probably going to be doing Pyramid Fairy after this, and then I wonder if they're going to head back into Palace of Darkness. They could also just choose to pick Ice Palace after this, which would be really good for them, as they'd be in Go Mode after picking up that King of Samaria. But for Swagalicious, they are only 1 item from Go Mode, and Prevailing Wisdom says that you should always skip Left Side Swamp the first time through, at least, when you're 1 item from Go Mode. Defritza, on the other hand, is 2 items from Go Mode. They still need their Bombless Medallion as well as the bow. So they're slightly more incentivized to check those 2 slow items, compared to Swagalicious. Now, of course, they're There is another bow besides the one in Misery Mire, but there's no real restrictions on where that one could be hiding. Could be anywhere, could even be in Ganon's tower, in which case it's going to be inaccessible to Defritza until they collect that other bow. Okay, so Defritza finding the map here. That does mean that there is at least one item on the left side of Swamp Palace, but it looks like they are going to go ahead and rush straight to the back here. I imagine Swagalicious has got to do the same here, I think. Okay, Defritza's setting up a very, very fast diver down glitch. Nice job. And Defritza does have that sword advantage. That is, I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it's going to be worth the time investment that they sank into Pendant Pawn, but, you know, the longer that you have a sword advantage over your opponent, the more it starts to come into play. You know, both of these runners are going to be taking down Argus, and that fight does go significantly faster with the Tempered Sword, especially if you know how to do, you know, the hook dash strat. I'm not sure if either of these runners, I'm not sure if Defritza will be going for that today. We'll see how they handle this fight. But, you know, Argus and then, you know, Trinax is also a lot easier with the Tempered Sword compared to Master Sword, so over time it can definitely make a difference. It looks like Defritza not doing any item dash shenanigans, so just gonna elect for single slashes here. And Swagalicious, as expected, does also skip left side. Swamp, we'll see if either of our runners ends up heading back in to search those two remaining chests. Oh, unfortunately, Defritza not setting up their spin in time. It looks like they were trying to go for the Fire Rod strat. Okay, does get it right the second time. Nicely done. And I'm not sure if we found the compass at all. So I believe, unless the first chest in Swamp Palace was the compass, might only be leaving one item behind here, potentially. Okay, so Swagalicious is showing that they know how to do this fight with Master Sword very well. It's kind of the optimal way to do it. You want to hookshot 2 of the puffs at a time and then do a spin. Very nicely done. Okay, they're setting up for a Fire Route strategy or Phase 2. Let's see how they do. Okay, not too bad. They should be able to finish things off on the second cycle here. Ooh, misses those Fire Rod shots, but takes it down with just another spin. Alright, and Defritza, checking K45, which makes perfect sense. And that's right next to Swamp Palace. It does give them the Magic Powder, so that opens the possibility of a check of Magic Bat. But they are going to go to Desert Palace first. Taking a peek at the Misery Mire Medallion and confirming that they do indeed have access. Of course, we both know, we know that there is a bow hanging out there. But I'm not sure if Defritza is going to make the call to go into Misery Mire after Desert Palace. I mean, I guess at this point, it doesn't actually seem too crazy, right? They've already been to Ice Palace. Like, what's left? Obviously, if they had the Bombus Medallion, they'd be prioritizing Turtle Rock, but they don't because that Bombus Medallion is in Spike Cave. They do still have, no, they can't do Pyramid Fairy because they need the bow for Armos Knights, actually. So yeah, it doesn't actually seem too crazy for Defritza to go into Misery Mire here. Like, their other options are, like, going up the mountain for Spike Cave, which would actually be really bad for them, as it would push them into Turtle Rock, which is further and further away from that bow. So Defritza might actually have a pretty good chance of making the right call here. Swagalicious is going to be taking this big bomb over to the Pyramid Fairy check. And I think the real question for Swagalicious is going to be whether they pick Palace of Darkness or Ice Palace. And there's a bow in Pyramid Fairy. Okay, so that is 100% locked by the first bow, which means that Defritza needs to make it to Misery Mire in order to complete the seed. That is 100% required. Okay, Swagalicious is fluting. And they're fluting to 4. Okay, so this looks like a magic bat check, actually, so electing to do a few more overworld checks before heading to one of these pendant dungeons. So this seed actually had all 3 pendant dungeons required. Yeah, so we had a required bow in Misery Mire, we had the mirror sitting in the first chest of Palace of Darkness, and we have the Cane of Samaria in Ice Palace. So all 3 pendant dungeons required to be dipped by our runners. I believe was there a force dip of Eastern Palace? The Eastern Palace had the hammer. I guess you could have gone into Misery Mire without that. But either way, yeah, 3 required pendant dungeons. Not something that you plan on signing up for when you start an Open 7/7 seed, but it does happen sometimes. Alright, so Swagalicious is still here. This looks like... they already checked hammer pegs, right? Oh, this looks like a graveyard ledge, actually. Okay. And I don't believe they've checked Catfish either. So this is Graveyard Ledge into Catfish. Okay, Defritza is in the Mire area, but this might just be for Checkerboard Cave. Are they gonna flute away after checking this? Or are they gonna dive into Mire? Swagalicious is still not hitting up Ice Palace. And the longer they spend on these overworld checks, the longer it's gonna take. But Defritza's fluting away, they're not heading into Mire! Oh no, they are, okay. Ooh, scared me for a second. They are heading into Mire, but they're just choosing to do so via the flute. It does make sense. They might be actually looking at full clearing Mire, as they do have access to the Cane of Samaria, so Victorious is an option for them. So, so they're gonna be able to get their bow. They're gonna finish Armless Knights, and at that point, they're gonna have access to Pyramid Fairy, which I imagine is probably gonna be the most appealing option for them. They aren't gonna have a lot else. Remember, they're still gonna need to find their Bombless Medallion. They're probably gonna be disappointed to not find it on Pyramid Fairy. But after that, are they going to be able to make the call to go to Spike Cave? Okay, Swagalicious is heading to the mountain. Wait, hasn't everything here been checked? Oh, wait, huh? Did they leave something behind here? I'm a little bit confused. They can't do anything in TR. They've already checked their Spike Cave, because that's where Bombless was. I don't think there's any items left in Tower of Hera. There's no book for either tablet. I'm confused as to what this is. They're going across the bridge. Swagalicious, are you trying to get to TR? Oh, the book is on Floating Island! I completely missed that! Oh, brother. Okay, this is a whole new mess now. I totally missed that earlier. I apologize. So the book is on Floating Island. Both of our runners did see that, but neither of our runners had the mirror at the time to get it. So Swagalicious is opening TR, but of course can't do anything in that dungeon until they have the Cane of Samaria. Defritza, unfortunately, gonna go ahead and check cutscene chest first. We already know that it's nothing here, so that's gonna be a little. It's gonna be like a minute of time loss. I believe the bow is on the in the lobby chest. Unfortunately, accidentally hookshots themselves in there. That could have been really bad, actually. No, Defritza, you didn't light that torch. Oh no, they were a little bit too close with their fire rod, so the torch didn't light. Oh, brother. Okay, they get it in time, so not too bad. Okay, so Swagglish is going to pick up this book, and I imagine they're going to check either tablet right away. I wonder if this is really worth it here. Like, you knew that this book was here, but it only opens up either... Like, you've already full cleared desert, right? So this only opens up Ether Tablet and Boundless Tablet. And at that point, why wouldn't you just full clear Ice Palace for 4 items, right? Okay, just a heart piece on Ether Tablet. Yeah, there's not really any progression we can find. We already know where everything is at this point. And Defritza is gonna find their bow. So they're gonna go and finish Armos Knights. Swaggalicious is gonna keep chasing these book checks. So this is gonna be a Bombos Tablet check by Swaggalicious. And then you have to go to Ice Palace after that, right? You've got like nothing left. You've got one chest in Swamp Palace, but I can't remember what else they have. I guess they've got an item on Helmasaur? Oh no, they still have... Wait, that's right, they still have the entire back of Palace of Darkness. So, like we said before, it's really going to be up to, does Swaggalicious choose Pod? Or do they choose Ice Palace? They're going back in their portal. Interesting. You can't seriously be considering taking the last item in Swamp Palace first? Really? Okay. This is something. I mean, I'm not crazy, right? There are 3 items in Ice Palace plus the green pendant, and then we've got what, 4 items in Palace of Darkness as well? But there's only one thing left in Swamp Palace. I mean, it does... You are right here, so if you're gonna check this, this is your best chance, but I have to imagine this is one of the slowest checks available to you right now. And this is gonna give Defritza a lot more leeway as far as getting to that Bombos Medallion. I assume they have also seen the book on Floating Island, and that's going to incentivize them to go up the mountain and clear out Ether Tablet as well as Spike Cave while they're there. So I kind of like how this is looking for Defritza. I just find it, like, incredible that Swaggalicious is choosing this one check here. Or maybe it's 2. It could be 2. I admittedly did not see what the first check of Swamp Palace is. So if this is 2 items, I think it's still less efficient than the other choices, but more reasonable, I think. We still haven't found the big key, though, so this could end up being a little bit slower than usual. The big key could be on the left side. And then you'd have to go back, walk back all the way to the big chest. Defritza, that's right, still hadn't done the rest of the checks inside Eastern Palace, so they are being thorough. So they didn't just rush to Armos, right? They're still looking for their Bombos Tablet, so they did check the vanilla big key chest. Alright, and left side Swamp has a sword! that was the only item there. So it was Swagalicious really just spent all that time for a single item. At least they got a sword out of that. That was literally the best thing that they could get out of that. We've seen everything else that's relevant. And they're heading to Ice Palace now. Yeah, I would have thought for sure you'd head to Ice Palace first. Okay, but now with Temperate Sword at hand, is going to head to Ice Palace. So they are going to be getting their King of Samaria, and that will put them in go mode. And for Defritza, are they going to go up the mountain next? I have to imagine the answer is yes. I wasn't so sure back when I didn't know that the book was there on Floating Island, but with the book there, I think it's the best option for Defritza. There is still, of course, one item left on Left Side Swamp, and one item in Helmasaur, but the mountain probably is gonna be a better option, right? Which means that they're just gonna be able to dash from Spike Cave to Turtle Rock with that Bombus Medallion, so the routing is actually gonna work out pretty nicely. Okay, they're taking out their flute. They're not going to the mountain yet. Oh, because they haven't done Pyramid Fairy yet. That's right. They just finished Armos, so yeah, Pyramid Fairy makes perfect sense to do first. Okay, Swagalicious is choosing to hit the switch here. Oh yeah, they have to, because of course they don't have the King of Samaria, so they can't Icebreaker. And very nice double kill in that room by Swagalicious. I think Defritza was trying to do a similar strategy, but didn't quite get it to line up properly. And Defritza giving us some nice hookshot dash combos with the Big Bomb in tow. So both our runners really showing off some nice time-saving tech here. Swagalicious, of course, doing that Ice Palace bomb jump. That's pretty much one of the most impactful bomb jumps that you can learn in this entire game. So I definitely expect all of the runners in this Gold Sword bracket to be very practiced with that. Okay, Defritza going to be grabbing their silvers from Pyramid Fairy, but he's going to have to keep on looking for the Bombos Medallion. And I believe the King of Samaria is coming up for Swagalicious. Defritza is hook speeding away. Uh-oh. Does this mean they're going to... Where are they? Didn't they already check Catfish? Okay, so Swagalicious is in go mode officially at the 1 hour, 25 minute, and 45 second mark. Oh, Defritza's taking this opportunity to check Graveyard Ledge. Oh, that's unfortunate. I mean, this is really reasonable. It's kind of the closest that you are to Graveyard Ledge, so I really understand this. It's just... this does put them a little bit further behind. I think if they had just gone straight up the mountain, they might have had a little bit more of a chance. I guess it would still be... I guess it would still be a little bit slow for them, as they'd have to, you know, do Spike Cave and then walk all the way out. Yeah, so Swagalicious looking in good shape. Chooses to go through Super Body Cave here instead of heading up Paradox Cave straight to the TR portal. I wonder if this is just motivated by not wanting to have to deal with the dead rocks on the way up for the other route. Oh, Defritza continuing with these other overworld checks with Magic Bat. I mean, yeah, this makes a ton of sense too. You just flute here and then check it, but unfortunately it's not the answer. Okay, so Swagalicious is going to make it into Turtle Rock. They only have 4.5 hearts. I'm not sure what their, not exactly sure what their potion situation looks like right now. So, but they're going to have to be a little bit careful. Again, Turtle Rock is kind of like the last dungeon that you're expected to do in the middle of the game, so it does have some hard-hitting enemies. But I guess both of our runners are on Red Veil at this point, so probably not a huge deal. Ooh, unfortunately tries to use the cape, but the first time that you select the cape, there is actually a hidden half-second cooldown, so I'm pretty sure that's what happened to Swagalicious. They tried to activate their cape right away, but still had the cape on cooldown. It's not a normal, it's the only item in the game that has that sort of cooldown. It also persists across save and quits, actually, which is kind of bizarre. Okay, Fritza, I'm gonna go ahead and take the portal into Turtle Rock. But they don't have the Bombus Medallion to open it, of course. That is hanging out at Spike Cave. But they're gonna go grab their book first, of course. And I imagine they're gonna check Ether Tablet before Spike Cave. But they are, thankfully, gonna get to their Bombus Medallion in not too long. Okay, nice. Invincibility frame strat by Swagalicious. Unfortunately, still gets tagged by the Chain Chomp, so they're only on half a heart. They do have the Magic Powder. Okay, nice Starlight cancel. I imagine they're going to want to use the powder in the following room to get some of their health back. There are 4 anti-fairies, so that can provide definitely a full health refill. You just have to be a little bit careful. It is possible to only powder, 2 of the anti-fairies, and the other 2 can hit you. Okay, they played it safe. Definitely a good idea. Alright, and uses the Fire Rod to get that, is going to steal that small key from Pokey and proceed onward. I assume they have the big key on their hands already. And Fritza is going to make their way to Spike Cave. So it's going to be a little bit awkward for Fritza as they... they might elect to dash out of Spike Cave, which is kind of slow. The other option would be to just save and quit, and then flute up to Death Mountain again. Not sure which one actually is going to be faster. They are only at two hearts now, so they might want to save and quit here. And there is go mode for Fritza. So going to be trailing Swagalicious by most of pretty much an entire Turtle Rock cleared, I believe. So going to be quite a time differential to make up for. Okay, Swagalicious does have to find their small key here at Laser Bridge. It does have the Mirror Shield to kind of trivialize most of this. Okay, and there is a small key. Not even going to bother checking that last chest because they've already got Silver Arrows on hand as well as Tempered Sword. Pretty much all they could ask for, aside from the other sword that... forget where that was. Palace of Darkness, I believe, yeah. So, we got 1 sword in Palace of Darkness that Swagalicious did not collect, and 1 sword in Left Side Swamp that Fritza did not elect to go back for. Alright, so Swagalicious entering the Trinex fight just as Fritza opens up TR. It's very clean so far. Okay, very nice 1 cycle by Swagalicious. Looks like they are going to try and set up for this initial Spin Slash for Phase 2. Okay, gets a single hit there. And should finish up the fight, yeah. Very nicely done. So that is going to be crystal number 7 for Swagalicious. So all that's left for them is to make their way through Ganon's Tower. Of course, you're going to be on the lookout for that Ganon's Tower big key hiding somewhere among the 20 or so checks in the basement. Fritza switching to the Magic Cape a little bit beforehand so it doesn't run into the same cape cooldown issue that Swagalicious did. and also safely avoids the nefarious movement soft block that can happen if you quick swap away from the cape while transitioning through a doorway. Okay, and Swagalicious is heading into Ganon's Tower. Very nice hook speed climb there. Alright, looks like Swagalicious is going to go right side first, and they already got their mirror out, so I imagine this is going to be a hope left route. And Fritza, continuing through Turtle Rock, does have a lot more health than Swagalicious. Looks like they might elect to powder those same anti-fairies anyways. They've got plenty of magic. So definitely not a bad idea. As soon as Swagalicious finds that big key and has at least one small key, they are good to climb the rest of Ganon's Tower. Four fairies floating around in the air for Defritza. Ooh, unfortunately takes probably an unintentional fall there by Swagalicious, but has plenty of health still. Makes excellent use of that blue boomerang to hit the crystal switches. Uses a bomb strat for this one. Don't see that every day. And narrowly misses that strat there. By standing on that blue peg, you can gain invincibility frames once that crystal switch is hit, which will help you avoid damage from the spike, but it looks like they just missed the spacing on that. Oh, Defritza, unfortunately, yeah, using the fire rod on that crystal switch, unfortunately, does have a little bit of a delay before the switch triggers, just because of how the fire rod works. Okay, and Swagalicious still not finding the big key here. It's a nice use of that silver arrow to take care of that mini Helmasaur. And Swagalicious, oftentimes this warp is skipped using a bonk setup, but looks like they just elected to walk in. Fritz finds their key at Laser Bridge. And Swagalicious vanquishes Bob, our corrupted anti-fairy friend. Ooh, speaking of anti-fairies, Defritza takes a couple hits there. And Ice Armos is going to be no problem with these silver arrows. Yeah, that last one can be a little bit tricky to get the spacing on, since... yeah, this can happen. Okay, Defritza is in their Trinex fight. And there's the big key for Swagalicious, who's going to be starting their Ganon's Tower climb. Defritza also with the one cycle there, or actually two cycle, just misses the one cycle there on Trinex Phase 1. And Swagalicious is looking pretty good for this climb. Defritza narrowly missing the double spin hit on Phase 1 of Trinex. Okay, let's see how Swagalicious does with this Ganon's Tower climb. Okay, very nice key dash. I will say Ganon's Tower is definitely something that is probably the most important to practice, not just because it's the dungeon that you have to do every single seed. Ooh, a little bit of trouble in Cannonball Room, but manages to scrape by. Not just because you have to do Ganon's Tower at the end of every seed, but specifically because you have to do Ganon's Tower at the end of every seed. And that's kind of when, you know, you might be feeling a little bit tense, a little bit nervous, Might be wondering if your opponent is about to finish, and being in that kind of high-pressure situation and having to do these tricky rooms is definitely something that you want to be comfortable and confident with. You know, luckily our runners do have access to pretty good equipment here, so not going to be, you know, like on Master Sword with Green Mail. As you can see, Swagalicious, you know, didn't really make a ton of huge errors, but I was already down to 1.5 hearts just going through the gauntlet there. But, of course, does have the Magic Powder to get a fairy there. He's going to go for this Marius strat here. Gets it on 2 of the Landmos, but unfortunately did not wait quite long enough in the previous room for that 3rd Landmo, so he's going to have to take another cycle there. I'm seeing more and more runners actually learn that strat. It's kind of wild that it actually does work, but it can be a really good strat to have on deck, especially because it uses much less magic than the Fire Rod, especially if you don't have Silver Arrows on hand. Okay, Defritza electing to use Ether Medallion just to take care of those Stalfos without having to chase them around. And Defritza is going to be taking the same route as Swagalicious, so no real time gained or loss on Ganon Tower basement routing. Okay, Swagalicious electing to throw themselves off of that pit just for a little bit of easier movement in this room. And Defritza setting up for a nice quick swap strategy using both the Blue Boomerang and the Hookshot. Accidentally lays a bomb there, unfortunately, but very nice strategy in that room, and does get that iframe strategy that I mentioned earlier in the preceding room. Okay, Swagalicious again making use of that Magic Powder to get another health refill. You can already see, you know, if they did not have access to that Magic Powder, you know, that'd be a lot more, you know, life loss that they'd have to deal with, so... Okay, Moldrim's just going to take one more slash to go down. Finishes that fight pretty nicely. There's just going to be one more, a couple more rooms before Swagalicious gets to face down the Agatu fight. Okay, just a little bit misaligned with that, with both of those dashes, unfortunately. It gets a little bit bullied by those mini Helmosaurs, but of course, only took half a heart of damage as they are on Red Mail. Okay, and Swagalicious starts off their fight with Agatu. Ooh, unfortunately, it didn't get any of those reflections there in the first phase. Does get a nice double there. Oh, looked like they were not quite quick enough to get into the position they wanted that time. Okay, nice double there. Can they finish it off on this round? This is a good setup, yes. Defritza having a little bit less trouble on Ice Armos, and will be getting their big key and starting their climb as Swagalicious waits for this cutscene. So Swagalicious going to have to take down Ganon here. It is going to be 12 hits with the Tempered Sword for phases 1 and 2. Setting up for a double spin hit, gets it, very nice, so on track for the 1 cycle here. And gets it. Oh, it didn't get it, okay. I thought for sure, but just narrowly misses the 1 cycle there in phase 1, that's unfortunate, but does get kind of the good corner here. When Ganon is in the upper right here, you can just set up double spins within the center of the Circle of Fire Bats. It's a very easy way to 1 cycle phase 2. Of course, you do need an invincibility item to get out safely, but should be no problem with the Magic Cape. It's not like Swagalicious needs to save a ton of magic, as they do have access to the Silver Arrows for phase 4. Meanwhile, Defritza making great use of the Fire Rod. They do have half magic, so they can afford to be more, spending with their magic here in the climb. Oh no! Swagalicious falls! They took 2 hits there. They're still okay. They're still quite ahead of Defritza. Defritza's still making their way through the gauntlet, but I have to imagine if you're in Swagalicious' shoes, that really doesn't feel good. Okay, let's see if they can handle this refight with Ganon calmly. Yeah, unfortunately, just missing the timing of that slash. Ooh, and Defritza misses the Silver Arrow shots on Lanmo too. Okay, Swagalicious, unfortunately gets the upside down warp from Ganon. That's usually not what you want if you're setting up for the 1 cycle. So he's gonna have to go for a 2 cycle again. And Ganon gives a worse pattern here, but Swagalicious gonna try to make use of this Mario block. It doesn't really work out. I almost wonder if it would have been better to just, use the Magic Cape and then just spam slashes there. Another thing that people usually do in this situation is to use the Pegasus Boots and dash into Ganon. Not sure if they have a potion on hand, though. They've got to be a little bit careful. One more hit could spell doom. Okay, they have a blue and a green potion. Okay, yeah, I wonder if it would have been better if they just kept the Magic Cape on for Phase 2 the entire time and just landed 12 slashes that way, but... Okay, they should be safe now. Okay, Defritza using the same strategy for Torches 1 in Ganon's Tower. Okay, Swagalicious can afford to take it easy here. They've still got a bunch of time to bleed here. I mean, they don't know that, but... Oh, misses that Fire Rod shot. Okay, stay calm. Probably only... not really a great position for Ganon to be in. You can't get a double in that position. Okay, it just needs one more silver hit. Okay, chooses to play it safe. Okay, they should be able to get this. And Ganon is taken down. Swagalicious is gonna finish with a final time of, it looks like, 1:45 and about 30 seconds. So GG's to Swagalicious, as Defritza is following pretty closely behind, all things considered. Is going to make their way into the Agatu fight here. So as Defritza finishes off this seed with the Aga fight, who definitely does a lot better at that first cycle of Agatu. Well, unfortunately only gets a single there. But does line up for the double there. Okay, so they're doing a little bit better than Swagalicious in this fight. Very nice pattern there, yep. See if they can keep together for the Ganon fight. They do have 3 blue potions on deck, so if they want to, they can literally just abuse the Magic Cape the entire time. They do have half magic as well, so there's kind of no reason you wouldn't. But yeah, this is a wild seed. I wonder if... I feel like the difference maker here ended up being that Magic Cape. Defritza didn't have that the first time up the mountain, and thus couldn't check Spike Cave. I mean, it's not necessary. They wouldn't necessarily have checked Spike Cave the first time through. It is kind of a slow check to do. Okay, Defritza working on Phase 1. Doesn't get the 1 cycle there, but as we said, does have the Magic Cape, and Ganon is in the upper right corner, so just gonna need 3 spins, because each spin hits twice there, so Phase 2 is already done. And I'm gonna dash over to the bottom to preemptively get ready for the first hit of Phase 3. Defritza just needs to stay calm and make it through Phase 4 without taking any falls like Swagalicious did. Okay, last hit of Phase 3 here. Defritza not electing to do the torch glitch. is a little bit more optimal. Gets tagged by that fire bat, but still is safe for now. Looks like they were maybe trying to time the torch glitch. Ooh, gets a very nice setup here. Should be able to get at least a double here. And finishes off with... Oh no! That's really unfortunate. They only had one hit left, but unfortunately you cannot use Y items during 4 frames when the torch is going out. That was really unlucky to get their input eaten, but they do finish off the fight, and they are going to finish with a final time of, it looks like, 148 and some change, so about 148 and 27 seconds. So GG's to both of these runners. Hope you enjoyed this race between these two, and definitely, if you appreciated this gameplay, definitely check out these two, give these two runners a follow. I'll have links to both of their Twitch channels in the description of this video. And this is game 1 of this of a best of 3 series. So DeFritza will have to take 2 games in a row if they want to proceed in the Gold Sword bracket. Meanwhile, Swagalicious only needs to win 1 more game to advance to the semifinals. That is going to do it for this broadcast. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this commentary as well as this rebroadcast of this race. I know there are a ton of races going on in the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament brackets, in all 4 brackets. So if you're interested in seeing more of these, definitely check out the Go Mode Podcast Discord server or the Twitch channel. There's plenty more where this came from. Again, my name is DDR Kirby ISQ. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time for another broadcast.